welcome back to Mark My Words. My name is Mark Barbeliuk and my guest tonight is Jai Martinkovits, who was talking with me earlier about Australians for constitutional monarchy, but he's changed hats now and we're talking politics.
We are.
Particularly CANdo.
That's right.
Explain CANdo to the folks.
Well, CANdo is Australia's independent grassroots community action network. So think of CANdo as the other side of the coin to GetUp, a successful online campaign organisation. So
let's explain to people what GetUp is.
Well, GetUp is a movement that was started in 2005 for people who don't really have exposure to the traditional media. So let's call it the broadsheet newspapers. They're listening to FM radio, so they're not listening to AM radio, and people who are spending a lot of time online. So they started this internet movement which runs campaigns, and all of these campaigns are very left-leaning campaigns.
Oh, Jai, let's call a spade a spade. It's a front for the Labor Party.
Well, I think that the best way to describe that would be that they're a natural fit for the Labor Party.
Yeah, but a little bit too natural for some people.
Look, they're lavishly funded by the unions, so of course it's you know, you can draw your own conclusions from that. But the thing to remember here is that GetUp is a very niche organisation, and they definitely do not represent mainstream Australia. And I think that that's the difference with what CANdo is doing, is that we're filling that same space where young people aren't getting this, you know, balance in the media from traditional media. We're putting the same message online, but in the conservative space.
So if GetUp is to the left, you guys are to the right. Is that in a nutshell?
To the centre-right is probably the way to put it.
Centre-right. Okay.
Yeah. Where I think most Australians fit. And I think that we can see that from the support that we've received so far and the positive messages coming back to us, only these elite sort of left-leaning organisations are saying to us, we've got a problem with your message. So,
if GetUp is lavishly funded by the unions, as you say, are you guys lavishly funded by Gina Rinehart and WA mining magnates?
Not yet, so I'll let you know if ever that happens.
Gina, if you're watching, we'll give you the address to send the money. He's waiting with bated breath for that money.
We are running on a shoestring budget, unfortunately, so what we're doing at the moment is largely on volunteer power and that we haven't got any funding.
And what are you going to do? What is the big plan for CANdo?
What we want to do is we want to run campaigns. We want those campaigns to be what we feel fits within our values and our charter.
And what are they?
Well, let me just make the point firstly that we have a charter. And now that's an astonishing thing to have when you look at an organisation like GetUp that doesn't tell you what it stands for. So what we say is, we have this charter. And I'll explain what it is in a moment. Do you identify with this charter? Well, okay, come and support us. You might not agree with every single campaign we run, and you don't have to, because Australia is a functioning democracy, and of course, if we agreed on everything together, then it'd be a pretty boring place. So, yeah, you can support us on some things you won't, and that's cool. So, what we really advocate is lower taxation. I mean, let me take it from our punchline. We've got Australia should be a place where the individual has their own rights, they have freedom, and above all, they also have personal responsibility. So we're functioning within that sort of framework, saying that government should be limited to its core duties, defence, ensuring that we have a good financial system, all of those sort of things, and keep its nose out of those other areas that are probably beyond the original scope that was intended for government.
See, I think I'll listen to Mitt Romney with all this small government message.
Pull all that back, and while you're at it, drop down the taxation. So there's those sort of things, and then I suppose we have a few of the other things which are a little more broad. So some of the things that we've been doing is to say, well, let's explore some of the things that we have in the US and also in, say, Switzerland, like direct democracy. So
what, citizens-initiated referenda, that sort of thing?
That would be one aspect of it. Now, New South Wales, of course, under the O'Farrell government, has already explored one avenue of this, which is recall elections, and they've produced or they've commissioned a report to explore that. Now, of course, recalling governments is a difficult thing to try and get through because it's not in the interests of the politicians. But what we're doing is we're trying to find a way to bring that in, recall elections, both at national and at seat level. And also to be able to say to people, if there's something like a carbon tax that people feel so strongly against, that they should be able to veto that legislation. So if there's enough support, that a veto would be possible.
That's awkward, though, Jai. Come on, that is near impossible. Imagine if people started vetoing what they wanted, and it works both ways. If you had an Abbott government, people would start vetoing that, and you end up with this.
If you look at California and you look at Switzerland, where this is in place, it hasn't been abused. I mean, it has been used on occasions.
Yeah, but the proposition system in America, it's dysfunctional. I think it is, largely.
If you had something that had enough support at a groundswell level, it's probably worth, in a democracy, I think, considering that change. And of course, the percentage would only trigger a referendum on the issue. So with an appropriately high threshold that it's not happening at all, all the time, and that tends to be anywhere between about 8 and 15%, depending on the state and things like that. Somewhere at that threshold, it would then trigger a national referendum. And what it's doing is, see, I'm a big believer in what Edmund Burke said with representative democracy, and he'd spin in his grave if he heard what I was talking about now. But the thing that's changed since Edmund Burke's time, of course, is that we've sacrificed a lot of representative democracy through party structures. So, for example, where we now have, particularly in the Labor Party with the caucus pledge, and even to a degree in the Liberal Party with the way that candidates are pre-selected and so on, it's not your representative advocating your views in Parliament. It's your representative advocating his factional leader's views.
It's broken. The system's broken.
It's broken. And look, we have checks and balances on the system, as we were talking about with ACM. So we've got the Crown to protect from certain things, but it doesn't ensure that the people's views are represented in Parliament. And I think that with direct democracy, you're introducing a further check.
So you want to re-empower, for want of a better term, the people?
That's right, absolutely.
Put democracy back in hands of the electorate rather than the elected.
Absolutely. And I don't think that you could ever fully have a representative representing someone's views in Parliament, because they're going to have their own interests. They've got all the forces that be around them. And I think that having that extra check there is going to make sure that they... that they're just on their toes, I suppose, is the best way to put it.
You're not a front for the Liberal Party, are you? You're not young Liberals in drag.
I don't think that you'll get support on that from absolutely any party. So we're going to have an uphill battle to get it in, Liberal or Labor. It's just not in the politicians' interests.
So you're centre-right, predominantly looking towards young people, I guess, who feel alienated from the political system, the process?
That's right. We're trying to connect people with politics. Now, politicians have a bad name, but of course the issues themselves are very important for Australia, and we want to expose young people to it. Now, I don't care which side of the coin they take, to be honest with you. What I want them to do is to be able to consider the issues, like what happened with me when I was exposed to this, and of course I came to my own views, but consider the issues, decide what you want to do, and stick by your convictions. And, we see this problem with politicians. A lot of them are just there because they've come through the ranks of politics. They don't even know what they stand for.
They're career politicians.
They don't know what they stand for. I think if you're going to sort of be in that sphere, certainly you should know what you stand for. But even as the average citizen, you need to consider these issues because your vote does count.
So tell me about the launch of CANdo. Is it operating? Is it out there?
It's absolutely functional.
Can people sort of reach out and touch it?
Yes, as much as you can touch a computer screen. CANdo.org.au. We launched the website in Perth very recently. And,
is that because of the mining magnates and the money that you're expecting to get from them?
No, that's because it's a national initiative. And we wanted to demonstrate this isn't something that's centric to the eastern states.
Sydney or Melbourne centric, which is a problem in Australia.
Well, that's right. And, you see Western Australia, and they even talk about seceding. It's, they're probably half joking when they say it, but it's something that they do feel alienated. So we want to bring them back in, of course, and this is truly a national initiative. We will be launching it in Sydney, Melbourne and so on, so people can keep an eye on the CANdo site for details of that launch. But absolutely, we want people to get involved with this initiative.
So people out there who are centre-right, is that a broad sweep? Is that fair to say?
That's very fair, but I don't think most people would identify themselves as anything.
Okay,
this
or conservative in nature?
This is have a look and see whether what we're saying makes sense. Okay, and I think most people will identify.
Joe, I'm going to get you back on this show with someone from GetUp because I would love the two of you to go head to head.
I would love that.
Because it'd be absolutely fantastic to see two relatively young organisations with politics in different areas and different fields and see where you guys are heading.
Let me give you one more point, if I may.
Sure.
We've partnered, a strategic partnership with Apex Australia, which is one of Australia's oldest volunteer service organisations, 8 decades. Now, would an organisation like Apex Australia come on board with us as a strategic partner if we didn't represent the mainstream of Australian society?
We'll leave that thought with our viewers. Jai, it's been fantastic having you on the show. I'm getting you back with someone from GetUp. I'll be back very soon.
Thank you.